There is really no good way to say this at all. And I want to start right now with this, which is February 22nd. The PACT Act and VA benefits have not been touched. However, looking at the horizon, VA benefits being on the table is truly and slowly becoming a reality. Now, when I say that, I know everyone's going to go bananas at the claim I just made. So what I'm going to do is show you by the numbers every single thing that has happened recently and has led me to the statement I just made, which is yes, VA benefits being on the table is becoming a very real reality, not a joke, not clickbait, not fear mongering. At least give me a chance to prove why I made the statement. And I ask that you watch this entire video because I'm going to present you seriously everything that has led me through my thought processes. Okay. And jumping straight into that, first we have to understand what the VA secretary has stated multiple times within the last 2 or 3 days. And I'm just going to let him speak for himself here. And that's it.
Whopper number 2 is veterans benefits are going to be cut. I've told you they're not. I've tried to tell you this before. This was like a Whopper with no tomato. It just doesn't fit. Because here's the other problem with that. We took almost $98 million that were being spent.
Basically, he said no. Okay. I'll leave it at that. You can go ahead and watch his videos. He posts them on X all the time. But yeah, so all of that sounds gravy. And the VA secretary is 100% correct here. Under current law, there's no lies, no falsehoods. VA benefits are not going to be cut. Well, now, more recently, I would like to show you something that came out last night on February 21st, which is when the Senate voted against protections for healthcare benefits for veterans exposed to burn pits during service. And we all know that as the PACT Act. Okay. Here it is. Now we're going to jump into this article later, but I still have a few more things to show you. And if some of them are going to be a part of this article. But yes, this really happened. Senate rejected this bill. And this is the main indicator that changed my mind. Okay. After last night, it's the thing that really took the cake for me. Okay, and this is the one thing that leads me to believe that veteran benefits are on the table. Now, before we get into that, it gets even better. Do not worry. Okay, so that's 2 things. We have the VA secretary saying we're all safe, and then more recently we have the Senate rejecting protections for veterans, veteran benefits specifically. And now we have to look at Doge making tons and tons of cuts. Okay, we have to address the elephant in the room here. The best way I can describe what seems like their operating process is just mass fire, mass stopping all contracts, and then see if anything's broken after that. Okay, meaning they shoot first and they ask questions later. The analysis is lacking, and they're moving as fast as they possibly can. And Doge is tasked with saving the American taxpayer money as much as possible. And that's a good thing. Okay. It's my opinion that how they're going about it makes it a bad thing. And I would argue a really bad thing. And the reason that matters is because topic number 4. So VA secretary saying we're safe, Senate not protecting veterans benefits. Doge does exist. And number 4, correlating with Doge, is the VA's budget in 2017. Okay. It was about $177 billion, which is a ton of money. I can't even comprehend 1 billion, let alone 177 billion. Now that was for 2017. VA's budget for FY 2025 is reported at $369 billion. I've also seen 356. So let's just call it anywhere from 356 to $369 billion. That is double the budget. In 8 years, it's increased drastically since the PACT Act. And it's The reason this matters is because it's unsustainable and everyone knows it. And so we see the Senate rejecting protections for veterans benefits. And that tells me that, hey, we want to reserve the right that if we need to make cuts, the PACT Act's got to go. I don't see what else that says. Okay. Now, if you see something else and you think differently, let me know down below in the comments. Okay. Now, I also want to bring your attention to when the PACT Act was passed. And this was mainly a Democrat effort. And yes, that matters, especially now, because we see 11 Republicans. Actually, the only no's were on the Republican side. Now, I don't want to make this a partisan issue, but it is very clear that the Republicans voted no, not because they don't care about veterans. It was more for budgetary concerns. Hello, that's where we're at right now. Okay, so they weren't wrong, but they did vote no. And now we see this administration that's kind of undoing what happened in the last 4 years. And PACT Act's a part of that. Okay, and these are just the facts here. Okay, you can swallow that pill however you want. And lastly, so VA secretary saying we're safe, the Senate not protecting veteran benefits, which I find very weird. We have Doge doing Doge things, the VA's budget increasing at an unsustainable rate. If it keeps going, benefits will go away. And if you're wondering, then we see, what was it? Oh, who voted no on the PACT Act, what this administration is doing. And the last thing, and this really is the nail in the coffin, and this is really what's going to make everyone mad. It's the combination of Russell Vought leading OMB and, yes, Project 2025. And I'm going to bring your attention to where P25 calls for the removal of the PACT Act, okay? Now, I know Project 2025 is not Trump's plan. People are going to tell me that in the comments. I got it, okay? Although it's not Trump's plan, it's very obvious where the legislative branch is taking benefits, okay? Is P25 is a plan to reduce the deficit and save the budget. This entire administration is trying to reduce the deficit and save the budget. Sometimes 1 + 1 = 2, okay? Now, I'm going to show you exactly what it is I'm talking about, just so we're all on the same page here. Here we go, P25. Now, in case you're wondering on how to get here, I don't want to control F it. I want to show you. You scroll down to where it says Department of Veteran Affairs, page 641. This right here is just background information. We're going to skip that. Here, you're going to see VHA. What we're looking for is VBA right at this second. Scroll down a little bit further, you'll find the VBA. Now, this is like a, P25 is, if I was king for a day, here's what I would do. It's not even recommendations, it's a list of options, okay? Now, going down, I've already highlighted for us, budget here. You'll see why this matters, okay? Now, I'm going to zoom in. I did not zoom in. I'm going to zoom in. We can all see it better. The VA Schedule of Rating Disabilities, VASRD, which, by the way, is changing, has assigned disability ratings to a growing number of health conditions over time. And here it is right here. Some are tenuously related or wholly unrelated to military service. They're essentially saying presumptives, maybe some secondaries. What this tells me is if it's not direct, it's not connected. That's how I would interpret this, okay? The further growth in presumptive service-connected medical conditions pursued by Congress under the previous administration and VSOs, mainly VFW, American Legion, DAV had a huge role, begun with Agent Orange and most recently for burn pits, airborne toxins, has led to historic increases in mandatory VBA spending in recent years. This small little, 2-3 sentences summarizes everything I just brought up. Okay. Sometimes 1 + 1 = 2. Two things be true at the same time. Project 2025 is not Trump's plan. That's what he says. That's what the consensus is. Everything that's happening just so happens to be in P25. Okay, so yeah. What are you going to do there? Anyways, let's go to the article, and I'll show you the very last thing I want to talk about here. And it's really from, let's see. I think, okay, here it is. We'll just read a few paragraphs because this is important. These are ads. Sorry for ads here. I think amendments like this, we should worry because it's giving that implication that should it come to that, then this is our position. Meaning the Senate is saying, hey, I want to save the right to make these cuts if I have to. That's not good. Okay. Then explain your position to your constituents. I always mess that word up when I read it, that you voted on this amendment, that these laws won't be protected. Okay. When the VA comes back to Congress asking for more money like they did last September because of unexpected shortfalls, we said yes. That's a senator. The admin of this Congress will continue to prioritize full and uninterrupted funding in the VA. Oh my goodness, that destroyed me. Putting funding necessary to fill the laws like the PACT Act that Congress enacted. Patrick Murray, I've had him in my basement before. He's VFW's National Legislative Director. Says, and listen, this dude, I've followed him and the VFW pretty close. He has never been wrong once. Okay. He said, more of a message than anything binding. However, if PACT Act funding, care, or benefits do get rolled back, veteran care might be rationed or not given in a timely manner, he added. When you're talking healthcare, those types of delays can be potentially deadly. So, yes, that's it. I'll leave this article, and you can read that on your own. But, yes, the Senate did choose not to protect the PACT Act specifically, which is huge. Not just for Vietnam era, okay, or Vietnam era spouses where the veteran had passed away already. And it's definitely going to affect Gulf War. So Desert Shield, Desert Storm, post 9/11 is a given. I'm just saying, VA Secretary is correct because he's operating under current law until the current law is changed.